we're here in Detroit to recognize the voices of residents and activists who are fighting an unjust burden of pollution in the air they breathe and the water they drink. This morning, I met with Mr. Schaub. Representative Tlaib and I were there, and we saw the Stellantis plant. And the fact is that right in Mr. Schaub's backyard, you could actually smell the pollution. And it wasn't more than probably a few thousand feet at most that that plant was located. And look, all of us on this panel, all of us are for bringing manufacturing jobs and good jobs, but that should not come at the expense of vulnerable communities. And there's no reason that Stellantis, now they're sitting in their headquarters in the Netherlands, so they don't have to live in this community. But they need to be accountable. There's no reason that they can't have mitigation so that there's not awful pollutants devastating that community. And they, at the very least, should be offering to buy the community, the houses there for people who want to sell and get out and not face that kind of pollution. So I know Representative Tlaib has brought this up a number of times, and we'll explore it. And you know, this is a hearing where we're going to take action afterwards. It's not just to hear people's voices, and we're going to figure out with Representative Tlaib's leadership what we need to do to Stellantis to make sure they're complying with American law, that they're caring about American communities, and they can't have a license, even if they're headquartered in Europe, to do damage to our communities in America. That's not right, that's not fair, and we want to hold them accountable. The reality is, for far too long, vulnerable communities have faced pollution as a compounded problem. And that's something I understood from Representative Tlaib, that it's not just the Flint crisis where you hear, okay, there's not clean drinking water. It's often communities don't have clean drinking water because of lead, and then on top of that, they have air pollution, and on top of that, they may have pollution from a refinery, and all of these things add up, and there's a cumulative impact. And the reality is that if you're in Warren, Michigan, as the representative was explaining this morning, you may not have the impact there. But if you're in poorer communities and if you're in black communities, then it's licensed to pollute. That's just wrong. That's wrong. That doesn't give people dignity. And that's really the purpose of this hearing today. It is to explore how we make sure that every community can have air that they can breathe, water that they can drink, and have their kids go out in the backyard and not smell smoke. I mean, it's not asking for that much. And it's not putting jobs in conflict with the environment. We can do both. We can build new plants and have those plants be environmentally sustainable. That's what this president has done with the Inflation Reduction Act that is talking about clean manufacturing. That's what this president's done with the climate provisions, where he wants to make sure, and the Congress wants to make sure, that we are actually having clean air, clean water as we build new jobs. And I'm a co-sponsor of the Environment Justice for All Act, which would order the EPA to not only require permit applications to submit analysis that show the cumulative impacts of pollution, but would require the EPA to deny permits where applicants can't demonstrate a reasonable likelihood of causing no harm. I'm committed to fighting alongside Representative Tlaib and Dingell to block dirty infrastructure, to make sure we don't lock in decades of further pollution in communities that are considered expendable, which unfortunately too many have been in our country. Currently, there's a proposal circulating in Congress that would make it actually easier to build polluting facilities, that was helped drafted by the American Petroleum Institute. We will be having a hearing on September 15th on that to make sure that those proposals don't become law. I'll close again with sincere thanks to Representative Dingell for her leadership and for joining this committee and her commitment, and to Representative Tlaib for holding this hearing. She is a true environmental justice leader and has been sounding the alarm on these issues in Detroit for decades, even calling for a cumulative impact study after the Marathon refinery fire in 2011. I'm proud to work with both Representative Dingell and with Representative Tlaib. She's the vice chair, and since this whole hearing was her idea, I now hand over the gavel to Representative